Hello, my name's Sam. Welcome to my channel. So one of my favorite things in books is when I flip through it and I see that a lot of the pages don't have a lot of words. I know that's a little counterintuitive for a reader, but I just love when I see a book and it's in like a unique format or something is a little bit different. Like it's not just like only text front to back, like there's interviews or there's little vignettes or there's short chapters or it's just told in a little bit of a different way or there's pictures. I just love that, like knowing that the book isn't going to take me that long because it's kind of broken up with these like little extra pieces. So I wanted to recommend books that I have come across that have those elements. And it's going to be everything from vignettes, short chapters, interviews, books written in verse, scripts, letters to friends, instant messaging. You get the idea. Now, the first book I'm going to mention is also the first book I mentioned in my last recommendation video, but this was the book that gave me this idea in the first place, made me want to make a list of all the books that had these kind of things in the first place, and that is Shark Heart by Emily Habeck. Because you look at this book and it's like a good sized book. You think, oh, this is like a regular sized book. It's going to take me a long time to read. But everything is like this, just these short vignettes, just like this, pretty much the whole way through. Like there's a lot of blank in here. That's exactly what I mean though. I love to just flip through a book and just see tons of blank space. Just lots of space with no words because I know that it's going to be a quick read. So this one I recently read. It's definitely going to be on my top 10 books of the year. It is about a married couple, Ren and Lewis, and Lewis has a diagnosis where he's slowly turning into a shark. And this book got me sobbing on 2 separate occasions. So it's about their marriage and it's about them getting through him turning into a shark, and it's about his mutation, but it's really also about Ren and her life and her experiences, and we follow Ren's mom as well in parts of this, and it was just really beautiful and really unique, and I just absolutely loved it. My daughter has entered the room, so you're probably going to hear some playing noises. The next book has that similar vignette style, and that is Our Homesick Songs by Emma Hooper. This one doesn't have it as much as Shark Heart, but it still has that like where you flip through and you just get like, little vignettes on the page. And it does have more like text than Shark Heart, but it still has like a lot of places with those vignettes that I love. And this one is about a family who lives in Newfoundland, and they live in this town where slowly like the supply of fish is dwindling and then there's no fish, and so pretty much everybody leaves the town. There's only really like a handful of people still staying in the town, and you're basically following this family and they're just trying to stay together as a family and make a living. And the mom and dad start working at this place, but they cycle through between the mom going and the dad staying with the kids, and then the dad going and then the mom staying with the kids. So they're kind of trying to keep their family together, but in doing so, they're kind of tearing their family apart. And then the sister goes missing, and it's basically you're following a lot of Finn navigating in this town and his family trying to remain a family. And I feel like on Goodreads this has a decently low readership, and it was just kind of like that sad kind of melancholy tone throughout the whole book, and it had really beautiful writing. And this is one where you're not really following like a huge plot. It's mainly just like the writing and the prose of it, and it was really beautiful. Similar to that is What We Lose by Zinzi Clemens. And this is another one where there's not a ton of plot. You're kind of just following this woman navigating her grief and with her mom passing away. And this again has that similar short chapter vignette style, and there's also like pictures, and this page literally just has one sentence. Love that. There's like other things in here as well, like graphs and random stuff. It's the whole point of this video. I just love that. And this one kind of reminds me of Transcendent Kingdom by Yagayasi, where it has a very similar tone. In that one, she's navigating grief and loss, and this one as well. Like, it's been a while since I've read this, and I honestly don't remember a lot about it. I just remember like the way it made me feel. It was similar to Our Homesick Songs, where it just kind of has this melancholy kind of sad tone the whole way through, and we're just really following her navigating her grief. And This is one that I would definitely want to reread because I remember loving it, but I can't really remember anything about it other than the fact that it just left me loving it. Which maybe isn't the best thing to say when I'm trying to recommend a book, but that's the truth. Next is a book that I'm going to be honest, I didn't love, but I still loved the style and how it was written and how quickly it took me to get through it, and that was We Spread by Ian Reid. This one doesn't really have, it's not the same where it has the vignettes, but like all of the lines are just so widely spaced. When I'm, repeating the same thing over and over again, this video seems a little bit silly, but I just know that I would love to find a list of books that just are widely spaced, short chapters, don't have a ton of words on the page, uniquely written. So if you have any recommendations like that, please drop them below because I would love to read more books like this. But this is about, you're following an elderly character, and I think her husband put in place when he passed away that when she is no longer able to care for herself, that she's going to go into this care facility. And then one day she has a fall, and then someone comes and basically brings her to this facility. And this one was very strange. It kind of has that thing, you're following an older character and you don't know if they're kind of losing their mind or if eerie things are happening or if it's just them losing their autonomy and losing their memory and not really thinking things through correctly. And she starts to get better in this place. She's doing art again, and there's other people that live there, older people, and they're all they do is they make their art, and it's just kind of this unsettling note throughout the whole book. I can't really remember why I didn't love it as much, but this is a very popular book on Booktube, and I can see why, just with that kind of eerie, unsettling tone throughout the whole thing. Switching gears from short vignettes, paragraphs on pages, we're going to move to short chapters, and that is My Sister the Serial Killer by Oinkon Braithwaite. And this one, exactly what I said, each chapter is just this really short 1 or 2 page thing, and this is exactly what it sounds like. It's about 2 sisters, and one of them is maybe a serial killer, and it's just following these sisters as the one goes on dates and then calls the other one to help her clean up an accidental death. And it's been a really long time since I've read this, and I also think this has a decently low rating on Goodreads, but it was just a very quick, good time. So I'm going to switch it up with the next 3, and these are all YA books written in verse. And the first one being The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. This was the first book, YA book written in verse, and again, I need to reread this because I honestly can't remember what this was about, but it was a coming-of-age story following Zia Mora, and she wants to do slam poetry, and she's just navigating growing up in the world as a Black girl, and I just remember breezing through it in one day, and this is definitely going to be top of my list to reread. And I just love, you just gotta love books written in verse, just books that are just short. I'm sounding like a broken record, but it just makes me so happy to open a book and know that it's going to take me a day to read. The next one is The Black Flamingo by Dean Atta. This is another coming of age story following Michael, who is a mixed race gay teen growing up in London, and he discovers drag. And similar to The Poet X, where she discovers poetry, he discovers drag, and you're just following his journey. And again, written in verse. And I think I listened to this on audiobook, which was amazing, by the way. And I remember someone saying that there was a picture in here where the words were the poem was in the shape of a flamingo, and I have yet to find that. So maybe that was just in a version that I don't have. But either way, this is what it looks like. Okay, last YA one written in verse, because I'm beginning to sound like I'm saying the same thing over and over again, and that is Muted by Tammy Charles. This has less than 2,000 ratings on Goodreads. Only 2,000 people have read this and rated it on Goodreads, and that makes me legitimately angry because this is definitely in my top 10 favorite books of all time because it caught me so off guard and made me bawl my eyes out. And it's following three friends and they're trying to make it in the music industry. And I think it was inspired by like the R. Kelly situation, and it was absolutely heartbreaking. It caught me so off guard, and this is one that I want to reread it just because I loved it so much, but I don't know if I want to be that sad again. Again, written in verse. Very good time. Definitely recommend this one. So underrated. I feel like it's getting really dark in here, and you can hear my daughter sniffling and coloring. A couple of the books on this list have this format, but still are going to take a decent amount of time to get through. And one of those is another YA, and that is Eliza and Her Monsters by Francesca Zappia. So this one still has things like conversations written out and breaks with pictures and like excerpts from comics, but it still is like a good size novel. Oh, thank you. I said it was bright in here, so my daughter brought me her lamp. That is very kind of you. Thank you so much, honey. Let's throw that right here. I don't know how that's showing up on camera, but you're just gonna have to deal with it. So this is about this girl, Eliza, and another kind of like coming of age. She's in high school. She writes this really popular comic series, web comic series, but nobody knows that it's actually her. And then it's following her as people find out at her school that it is her. And she meets this other boy, and he is a #1 fan, but he doesn't know that it is her. And you know, it just feels like a classic YA story, but when I read it, I ate it up. I might as well mention the last 2 YA books on this list and get them out of the way, and then I can go back to talking about adult books. But the next one is The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. And this one is still, again, it's a short little thing, but it's about, oh my God, I can't even remember. It's been so long since I have read this. What is the main character's name? Charlie? Is it Charlie? Charlie. It's Charlie. The reason that this one is on this list is because Charlie is writing letters to an unknown person. So it's just the date and dear friend, and he just writes little letters to this unknown person. There's a poem in here that is like the best thing ever. And I feel like I don't need to tell you what this book is about. I think it's pretty common knowledge. Coming of age, kid navigating, making new friends in high school, going through bullying, yada yada. I think it's a pretty well-known story, but I had to put it on this list because it's written in letters. All right, the last YA book on this list, and one I don't have, is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. I could make a list, well, I couldn't because I actually haven't read that many books with mixed media, but I know there are lists and booktubers that have made lists specifically of books with mixed media, and this is like a perfect example. But basically we're following Pip, and she is in high school, and she is doing her like senior project on an old murder that happened to a student at the school. And basically the blame got put on that student's boyfriend, and she is trying to figure out what really happened because something seems a little bit off with everything that happened in that case. So you're following Pip as she is doing interviews and piecing things together, and I wish I had the book to flip through and show you, but I've been doing a lot of that with every single other book, so you don't get it with this one. Can't really remember all the things that are in it, but I'm pretty sure there's a lot of interviews. There's like, I'm pretty sure there's like emails and newspaper clippings and all that kind of stuff. But it is a good, quick, fun YA mixed media time, whatever that means. Okay, next I have 2 books that the format is similar and the storyline is similar, and I'm gonna go I filmed this a couple times and I just feel like it gets kind of rambly, so I'm gonna do one book and then the other book rather than talking about them simultaneously. So the first one is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and this one, the reason this is on this list is because it's all told in interviews. So, and it's mainly like short pieces of like dialogue or backstory from the characters, and it's all told in that interview style. And I know this book is super popular, so you've probably heard of it, but you're following Daisy Jones and then a band called The Six, and it's about them making an album together, and a lot of it is about the creative process and the making of the music, and it has like a lot of excerpts of like songs and like lyrics and stuff in there, and then it's about why they broke up. And then the next one that is very similar format, The Final Revival of Opal and Nev by Donnie Walton. And this one is also told in interviews, but it has more, there's more like to each section, whereas Daisy Jones and the Six, I feel like it's really short pieces, whereas this you kind of get more of the story from one person's perspective. And this one has more like harder hitting conversations in here because Opal is a black woman, Nev is a white man, and it's about like the racism and misogyny, and this takes place in the 60s as well as Daisy Jones and the Six, during like the civil rights movement. And so yeah, there's like racism and conversations around that, and someone brings out the Confederate flag at one of the concerts and shit hits the fan, and so it's about like them breaking up and then getting back together. And this one was both of these I really enjoyed. This one again I feel like has more to do with like the music and that, whereas and like the creative process, writing songs, it has like song lyrics and stuff in here, whereas this one is more has more like social commentary and harder hitting topics and stuff like that in here. Does my voice also sound really stupid to you guys? Because it sounds really stupid to me. Okay, next I'm going to move on to something that's honestly just really kind of stupid, and that is Several People Are Typing by Calvin Kasalki. This is told entirely in Slack messages. It is about a guy at an office, and he accidentally gets his consciousness trapped in Slack, and it's him trying to get out of Slack, and you're just following all of the conversations that are happening between all of the people that work at the office, and it's like boring, mundane stuff, and it's like kind of funny. There's like inside jokes, and yeah, it's just us following Gerald trying to get his consciousness out of Slack. All right, next I have a book that I feel like I want to move this light. Next, I have a book that I literally just read, and that is, I finished it today, and that is Horror Movie by Paul Tremblay. And this is following okay, so the main character is not named, but he's basically telling the story of this horror movie that got made but then was never released because things happened on set, and he is the only living member of like everyone, like the cast and crew, that is still alive. Everyone has died, and so there's kind of been this like big cult following of this movie that never got released. Only like 3 scenes were released and like some like still pictures from the movie. And so you're following the movie being made, so there's like 2 timelines plus you get pieces of the script, and that is what has landed it on this list, because you have the then timeline and then a now timeline, this movie getting remade, and then you have pieces from the script. And it's just that perfect Paul Tremblay where everything is just mildly like horrifying the whole way through. It's just like kind of unsettling, but like you're just kind of waiting like the whole book for like things to get crazy, and then they never really do, but it still feels unsettling. And this has a low rating, but like I absolutely loved it, and I feel like it just needs its right audience. And that is the same with the next book I'm going to mention, which is another one that I don't have, and that is The Pallbearers Club, also by Paul Tremblay. This has a 3.1 average rating on Goodreads. It's very similar in tone to Horror Movie, where it just feels like vaguely horrifying, like kind of like something scary is on in the background and you can just kind of hear it. And it is following I can't remember his name even. I think it's like Art Barbara or something like that. And he is trying to find an extracurricular, and so he makes this pallbearers club where they just go to funerals that, you know, don't have a lot of family or friends, and then they are pallbearers. And he meets this girl, I can't even remember her name, but he is convinced that she is a vampire. And again, it's just that like very vaguely horror, like nothing is really happening, but the whole thing just feels unsettling. And the reason that that one is on this list, again, it's kind of like a bigger one, but he is like writing kind of like a memoir, like he's kind of writing a letter to her, or he's writing like a manifesto or something. And she finds it, and then she like marks it up. So in the book, like you have like, you know, him writing stuff and then her kind of putting little annotations, and it's in red. I really wish I had the book to show you, but it's in red, and she's just writing you know, her notes beside it. So he'll say something and then she'll be like, interesting that you remember it that way. I remember it like this. And then there'll be like handwritten parts in this red marker of like her point of view. And yeah, it was very good, but I'm apparently one of the only people who actually like it. Okay, I apologize. I feel like it's probably so dark in here. I don't know how I'm coming across on camera because I don't have a camera, I don't have a viewfinder. I'm just filming on my phone. But it's dark in this room. So hopefully this doesn't look awful or I'm going to have to refilm this whole video. Okay, next up I have another one of my all-time favorite books, and that is In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado. This is a memoir about where Carmen Maria Machado is detailing an abusive relationship that she was in. And each part in here is told kind of like in a different style, like as a different like kind of like trope. Like it'll say like Dream House as entomology, Dream House as lesbian pulp novel, Dream House as choose your own adventure, Dream House as spy thriller, and it's just these little kind of vignettes, little pieces kind of in this unique style. And the prose in here was so beautiful, and it was just like one of the first books that I read that I was like, oh, that is like so unique. Like that's not just like your basic like, you know, A to Z kind of narration style. And I think probably made me fall in love with this kind of thing in books. Okay, I'm gonna cut it there. I had a couple more books and some kind of honorable mentions of books that I didn't really like, but that had kind of a unique format. But because it's getting so dark in here, I'm just going to stop it there. But thank you for watching if you did, and I hope to make a video like this in the future. I hope to just keep kind of getting more books that I love that have this kind of like unique format. And if you have any that you've read that have something a little bit unique or different about them, drop them below because I'm always looking for new recommendations. But yeah, thank you for watching if you did, and see you in the next one. Bye.
Can't find the tape. When I'm done the thing, I'll come in and...
What thing? All right, you gonna be quiet? Ooh, fun. Dump it out so that you're not fumbling through the bag. Okay, you want me to staple them now?
No, I'll show you how I...
How's that?
Good.
His name is Finn.
I want to tell you something.
Yeah, that you have a kid in your class named Finn?
No, like in my kindergarten.
Mainly
I'm just
this...
gonna go get something.
Okay.
That's sad.
I know, that is sad, yeah.
Patsy?
I feel like it's getting too dark in here. Oh, thank you. I said it was bright in here, so my daughter brought me her lamp. That is very kind of you. Thank you so much, honey.
I'll take Twinkle, Twinkle, and Sweetie.
Okay, can you shut the door, honey?
Look at my picture.
I know, I love it.